They told the nurse to prepare the report before the crying even stopped. In a delivery room filled with harsh white light, a pregnant woman fought for her last breath, while outside, people waited not with prayers, but with patience. Patience for the moment she would be gone. The hospital corridor was quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Shoes echoed softly against the floor. A mother-in-law stood near the wall, arms folded, eyes fixed on the delivery room door. Beside her stood a young woman in expensive clothes, the husband's mistress. No tears. No fear. Only calculation. Inside the room, the wife's body shook as another contraction ripped through her. Sweat soaked her hair. Her hands trembled as she gripped the bed rail. The pain was unbearable, but her focus stayed on one thing: the lives growing inside her. The doctor urged her to breathe. The monitor beeped faster, louder, then unevenly. Outside, the husband avoided the door. His face showed relief more than worry. Months ago, love had already left him. Greed had replaced it. With his wife gone, everything would be easier. Property. Money. A new beginning. The first scream pierced the room. Then another. Nurses rushed forward. The wife cried out once more, then her voice weakened. Her heart struggled. The monitor screamed. The doctor shouted commands. Hands moved fast, but fate moved faster. Time was called. The room fell silent. That eye in the hallway, news traveled without words. A nurse's expression said everything. The mother-in-law's lips curved into a faint smile. The mistress released a breath she had been holding for months. No one asked how it happened. No one asked if she suffered. Paperwork was brought out. The husband signed where he was told. His hand did not shake. Minutes passed, then the delivery room door opened again. The doctor stepped out slowly. His face showed no emotion. The corridor went still. Celebration paused, not because of respect, but because of uncertainty. The doctor leaned closer and spoke quietly. It's twins. 2 newborns. Alive. Crying. Shock spread through the hallway. The mistress stepped back. This was not part of the plan. Twins meant records. Bloodlines. Proof. The mother-in-law's smile faded as nurses walked past carrying 2 tiny bundles wrapped in white cloth. The doctor continued, his voice steady. The mother passed, but she held on long enough to save both babies. Her death was not weakness. It was sacrifice. The twins were taken toward the nursery. Their cries filled the corridor. Other patients turned to look. Nurses whispered. Word spread quickly. 2 babies born. Mother dead. The husband finally lifted his head. His eyes followed the infants, fear replacing relief. Because now the story was no longer simple, the doctor stopped again, then added one final sentence. She knew. She knew about the betrayal. The secret meetings. The other woman. She knew everything. The hallway felt colder. The mistress looked away. The mother-in-law said nothing. Because a woman who died protecting her children had left behind more than babies, she left truth. Days passed. The funeral was quiet. Few tears were shed. The twins stayed in the hospital, small and fragile, fighting silently just like their mother had. Legal questions followed. Documents surfaced. A will written months earlier. Everything placed in trust, only for the children. Not for the husband. Not for his family. The mistress disappeared. The husband visited the nursery once. He stood behind the glass, watching 2 tiny chests rise and fall. For the first time, guilt found him. But it was too late. Years later, the twins would grow. They would ask about their mother. They would learn her name. They would learn how she fought when no one else stood beside her, and the people who celebrated her death would live with a truth they could never erase, because some stories don't end with death, they begin with it. The night the twins were born, rain lashed against the hospital windows. Nurses moved quietly, treating the newborns like glass, fragile, precious. Machines beeped softly beside their incubators. Each breath they took felt like a victory stolen from death. The husband returned home alone. The house felt larger, emptier. Her clothes were still in the closet. Her slippers by the bed. For the first time, the silence screamed louder than any argument they had ever had. Sleep didn't come. The next morning, whispers filled the extended family. Not sympathy, fear. Lawyers were mentioned. Documents searched for. The mother-in-law demanded answers, demanded control. But control was slipping. That a lawyer arrived at the hospital by afternoon. Calm. Prepared. He asked to see the twins. Then he asked to speak privately with the husband. Inside a small office, the truth unfolded. The wife had planned ahead. Months before labor, she had updated her will. Every asset. Every account. Every property. Locked in a trust, accessible only when the twins reached adulthood. Guardianship assigned to a distant aunt who lived abroad. Not the husband. Not his family. The husband's face drained of color. Rage replaced shock. He argued. He shouted. But paperwork doesn't argue back. At the funeral, rain-soaked black umbrellas. The mistress didn't attend. The mother-in-law cried, not for loss, but for defeat. The twins were absent, still too weak, still fighting. Weeks passed. The baby survived. They gained weight. Their cries grew stronger. Nurses smiled when they entered the room. Everyone knew the story now. A woman abandoned. A sacrifice made. The husband visited less and less. Guilt turned into resentment. The reminder was too painful. The twins were proof of everything he tried to erase. Years later, the twins walked hand in hand into a classroom for the first time. Their guardian watched proudly. On a shelf at home sat a framed photograph of a woman with gentle eyes. Their mother. They learned her story slowly. Carefully. Age by age, they learned she was brave, they learned she was alone, and they learned that love can exist even in the final moments of life. The people who once celebrated her death faded into obscurity. Forgotten by society. Haunted by memory, because the strongest revenge is not anger. It is survival.